Hey folks, fact, theory or mystery in the Legend of Zelda series? We love it around here. Which is exactly why I've created my very own series, reviewing your theories and mysteries. An opportunity to move away from going over my own thoughts and putting you lovely folks in the spotlight, discussing any and all theories and or mysteries that you submit. Welcome back. I can't believe we're at episode 9 already. I hope you're enjoying this series as much as I am. I also appreciate all the feedback to help improve the delivery of these videos. All throughout the series, it's been really appreciated. Anyway, from cults to monsters, all the way to mysterious flames, we've got a lot to delve into today. Get comfy, get ready, and as always, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here. And also be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out. And let's get into this one. Our first submission of the day comes from user David. They brought up a few interesting questions regarding Astor's cult from Age of Calamity. This is assuming that they are present in the Breath of the Wild timeline. The canon factor of this game is debatable. Some aspects seem undoubtedly canon, just for another to be the exact opposite. Regardless, let's play on the assumption that they do exist in this timeline, and that Age of Calamity is in the Breath of the Wild timeline, and that this factor, the cult, is canon, so they'd exist in the Breath of the Wild timeline. Not seen in Breath of the Wild itself, but thinking back to before the Calamity, their existence would pose some big questions. How long have they been around? How influential were they? What was their relationship to the Yiga like? And the big mystery from this time frame, did they have something to do with Zelda's mother's sudden and unexpected death? The best place to start would be their association with the Yiga clan. In Age of Calamity, we saw the two working together in great depth. Obviously, things went south for them in Age of Calamity's timeline, but if this all went down in Breath of the Wild's timeline, I think that they'd have a connection. Astor and his cult, in my interpretation, would and could work with anyone, from the Yiga to the royal family. After all, Astor is heavily implied to be the fortune teller that foresaw the Great Calamity and informed the royal family of it. If so, I wouldn't doubt that they keep in touch with everyone. This could play a role in the big question of the Queen's death. It was said to be sudden and unexpected, which you've mentioned doesn't fully fit a Yiga assassination, as many have speculated to have happened. Now that you point it out, I agree. Surely an assassination would be talked about differently than a sudden and unexpected death. Surely they'd say that she was suddenly and unexpectedly murdered, right? Maybe I'm overthinking it here, but the wording doesn't quite fit for me now that you've pointed this out. Sudden and unexpected to me could line up with something more mysterious. You know who is pretty mysterious? This cult. They're known for being able to do stuff without any physical attacks. Astor himself is capable of taking the soul of an individual. Now, playing along on him being the fortune teller, he would have no doubt been close enough to the royal family to pull off this attack. Taking the Queen's soul with his powerful abilities would have been very untraceable as long as nobody saw him. And when you think about it, that fits what the king tells us regarding her death, a lot more than an assassination by the Yiga, which again, many have speculated to be the case. And going off how the Yiga attack and attempt to assassinate, it would leave a bit of a mark and or mess. If Astor and the cult are present in the Breath of the Wild timeline, I personally believe they could very well be behind the death of the Queen, or at least be playing a role. The Yiga wouldn't get anywhere close to her, especially with all the guards. The Queen wouldn't travel alone either. However, if Astor is indeed the fortune teller, he would have been close, and we know he isn't exactly on one side. Okay, conspiracy theory over. Overall, I agree with you that it would be so cool to learn more about this mysterious cult and more about what they stand for. We saw some beliefs and motivations in Age of Calamity, but as we know, that is a spin-off with some canon factors and some not canon factors. Is this cult one of the canon factors and indeed present in the Breath of the Wild timeline? If so, did they play a role in Zelda's mother's death, and maybe even more that we don't know of? Let me know what you think. Our second submission of the day comes from user Michael. They posed the question of, and assuming that we get more animated movies after the Super Mario movie, what would I like in an animated Zelda film? Alright. Before the comment Karens hit me up, I know this isn't exactly a theory or mystery, but let me explain. I wrote this video and worked on it during a goddamn heat wave, and whilst visiting my partner in Germany. A combination of at my desk with a big old hot computer and monitor, and also remotely from my phone in another country. There are also very few new Zelda topics to discuss at the moment. I think this is a fair break to discuss. Deal with it. Sorry folks. the heat just got to me. Anyway, what would I like in a Zelda film? Well, first and foremost, I wouldn't base it off one particular adventure or storyline. I'd take aspects such as the concept of dungeons and reward items, the goal being to stop Ganondorf from obtaining the full Triforce, and lots of bits and pieces from every game. I think basing it solely on one game would make it all a bit too predictable, and leave little room for suspenseful and surprising moments. Remember that Zelda cartoon from the 80s? Yeah, think that. Just a general Zelda story, although this time, make it bigger, bolder, and much better. There is a lot more material for a studio to work off of nowadays. Make it happen. Oh, and the most important thing in my opinion, let's keep Link silent this time. We don't want another
Hey! Excuse me, princess!
Or do we? Next up, from user Joe, what's up with the new bokoblins in Breath of the Wild 2? You know, these horny dudes? Why do bokoblins suddenly have horns? Maybe they've recently discovered unicorns and become massive fans? Maybe My Little Pony was on TV post-Calamity? But what's the real answer? Let's go into some mini theories slash ideas slash speculations of mine. Firstly, the malice leaking from Ganondorf and eventually the castle could be the cause for this. We know that malice is crazy powerful and can have a huge influence on Ganon and his minions. Perhaps with this new malice leaking out into the world, and I say new because it looks much more red and evil than in the first game, the enemies are becoming stronger and even evolving a little, hence the horns. These are malice-infused enemies, I guess. My second idea, however, takes a different approach. This could be an aging process for these enemies. Obviously, as we play Breath of the Wild, we cycle through hundreds to thousands of days, but obviously that's necessary as a game mechanic. Perhaps in terms of the lore and time between this and this, the enemies still around have grown a tad older and grown horns, similar to how deer grow antlers. It's less likely to be honest, but it's an idea. Thirdly, time travel. The idea of time travel or a time frame switch in this game has been discussed heavily by fans, and if it was to happen, I wouldn't be surprised if enemies change a little if we're moving to a drastically different time frame of Hyrule. I personally like the first idea the most, as the stronger this malice leakage gets, the more developed the enemies could become, providing for a slightly new structure to enemies getting stronger as the game progresses. I guess this only works for down on the ground, but oh well. And if this is how bokoblins change, just imagine how it could affect enemies such as Hynols, Lynels, and even Molduga. Maybe even creating some new monstrous foes. Or maybe Nintendo just wanted to make them look a little more fresh. Hello there. Mini Patreon plug here. Yep, it's me again, plugging the Patreon. Just skip ahead to the time on screen if you're not interested. If you are, let me tell ya, supporting the channel via Patreon is such a massive help and form of support. Being a full-time YouTuber always has its challenges, and especially during these dry times for Zelda content. You'd play a huge role in making these videos possible week in, week out, and just keeping the channel going in general. For as little as $1, pound, euro, whatever your currency is, to however much you wish or can support towards these videos, please consider supporting via Patreon. You'll get a shout out upon joining in a video and your name featured at the end of all of my videos, as well as my personal gratitude. It is by no means necessary, but if you can or want to, please do. The link is below if you're interested. Now for our fourth but not final submission from user Christopher. The green arm is the soul of the ancient hero. Definitely not a new theory in the scene, but one I do enjoy discussing and hearing different views on. Now, reading through your comment, you suggest that this being the ancient hero may explain why Link is using these new ancient hero clothes after being possessed by the arm. Also explaining why the hand itself is holding down Ganondorf, with the reason for the arm latching onto Link being some sort of hero-to-hero moment, with the ancient one seeing a fellow hero in need of a helping hand. Nintendo titled the game The Legend of Zelda, A Helping Hand, if this is the actual plot here. I bet you all 100 rupees. Basically, it latches onto a hero in need in hopes to deal with Ganondorf once and for all. Not as a seal, as it's currently doing, and holding him down, but to destroy the King of Evil. Well, you do actually say sealing once and for all, I just think destroying sounds cooler. But a stronger seal with the help of our current Link would make sense too, and go more in line with how Zelda works. It's typically always a seal, keeps the series going, you know. You also note that the arm is likely some form of Sheikah magic. Okay, my thoughts on all of this. It's possible. We are still in the age of speculation, and that should always be something to remember. However, most of your points, in my opinion, are very possible, mainly the ones about the motivation behind the arm latching onto Link and the clothes. This new tunic does look and feel ancient, especially with the arm fused onto Link. I'm not too sure about Sheikah magic being involved here personally, as that was a huge focus in the first game. Well, the energy, but I won't rule it out. I just don't see anything pointing towards it currently. I also don't personally feel Link's original tunic has any Gerudo connections in this sense to Ganondorf, as you also briefly mentioned. But hey, that's just me. Overall, I do like your idea and think it's totally possible. I'm excited to see what happens with the arm, its motivations for latching onto Link, and how this all ties into the new tunic. In my opinion, it really does feel like it will be some sort of ancient hero, but we'll just have to wait and find out. Now for our fifth and final submission of the video. From user Lucas. What if the blue fire from Ocarina of Time is the same as the ancient energy in Breath of the Wild? A colossal question to end the episode. I haven't talked about Ocarina of Time in a hot minute, and funny enough, I have a video on the game in the works as I make this video. Whether or not that video will ever come out, who knows? So, in Ocarina of Time's Ice Cavern, we find a very mysterious blue flame, a one-of-a-kind. For years, this flame has been theorized about. It can only be found here or sold in the medicine shop. The mysterious flame burns a cold blue in strong contrast to the common red flame of fire. You know somewhere else we see something like this? Breath of the Wild. The Sheikah technology / energy is powered by mysterious blue flames in this game, whilst regular fire just burns red, as you'd expect. Could these two mysterious blue flames hold a connection? And could there be a shocking connection to the caves and Ganondorf? I think so. I love what you've brought up here, and I quickly put it to the final submission of the day spot as I wanted this to be the headline of the episode. We know that these blue flames have various locations across Hyrule. They go deep into the ground and power various things. What if the Ice Cavern in Ocarina of Time is one of the same, or an older version of what we saw in Breath of the Wild? This is Sheikah tech and energy. And guess what? The Ice Cavern in Ocarina of Time is not far from the once exclusively Sheikah village, Kakariko Village. It's not too far-fetched in my opinion to say that this is the property of the Sheikah in this time frame. And by the time of Breath of the Wild, this blue energy developed a ton into everything we see in this game. In Ocarina of Time, the blue flame can be scooped up and is exclusively used for melting red ice. Part of your theory is that red ice seen in Ocarina of Time could actually be malice-infused ice of some kind, with the blue Sheikah flame being the only thing powerful enough to melt it. And in Breath of the Wild, it's what they thought was powerful enough to stop the calamity. So could the red ice from Ocarina of Time be linked to Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time? Or maybe just malice in general? Maybe. So what do you think? Is this mysterious blue flame the early stage or stages of the blue Sheikah flames seen in Breath of the Wild? It's a shorter but sweeter final submission of the day, and I choose to end it here without much more speculation as there isn't that much evidence to go off of. There's two blue flames, years apart in the timeline, one heavily connected to the Sheikah, one near a Sheikah settlement. Could they be connected? I certainly believe that this is possible, and love your submission. Let me know what you all think. And that's all we have time for in this episode. If you want the chance to have your very own submission featured in next month's episode, then head on over to my YouTube community tab found on my channel. Look for a post that looks like this that will be posted as this video goes live, and fire your theories and or mysteries in there. I appreciate all of your support so much, and thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to drop a wee like down below if you enjoyed, and also consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content. Both would make my day. Follow my socials linked below to keep up to date, and as always, a huge, massive, amazing shout out goes to all of my channel supporters. Thanks a ton. With a very special shout out going to new supporter, Randall. Thanks a lot, good sir, madam, or meg. Your support really helps me to make these videos week in, week out, all month long, 365 days a year. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout out upon joining, then consider supporting via the links below. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day or night, and until the next time, I've been RYTM.